Evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Rutland Select Board meeting for Tuesday, June 9th of 2020. We have 4 out of 5 board members here with Sharon. Joe, did John Paul get back on, right?
No, no, there he is.
All right, hold on just a second. We're letting John in. John Paul, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we got John Paul, Sharon, myself, and Mary Ashcroft for board members. Looks like a few guests and some department heads as well. So we'll get right to it here. Approval of the orders. The orders are here at Town Hall for the board to review at your leisure. I did take a look at them today. Didn't see anything of any significance to discuss. And Kari, Clerk, did you see anything that we should talk about in the orders?
No, there's nothing that we need to discuss in these orders.
Thank you. Approval of select board minutes of May 26th of 2020. Did everyone get a chance to look at those?
Move to approve.
Second.
Approved by John, second by, is that Sharon or Mary?
Sharon.
Sharon seconded. For discussion, is there any deletions, corrections, or additions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. I have a hard copy here, folks. I'll leave it with Bill and Kari. You can come in and sign when you take a peek at the orders, okay? I just dropped them in the recycling bin. Bill's going to fish them out for us. All right. Let's go to any questions from the floor, public comment. Anyone who's not on the agenda who wishes to speak, this would be your opportunity to bring up any topic you'd like to discuss with the board.
Hi guys, my name's Alex Ramage. The reason for me being on this phone call or whatever you'd like to call it is I'm inquiring about possibly running a softball tournament using the Rutland Town Northwood venue. We have a couple dates, and the first date, there's a lot to go. I guess I'll start with the dates. It would be July 11th and 12th is the first date we would like to use. And then if that doesn't work, we're open to using a date in August and even September. And just a couple other things. You know, we would be in line with whatever guidelines that you know, we need to be in with you guys in the state. An example would be each team would have a designated area to stay in while they weren't playing. And then another example would be dugout areas, bench areas. One team couldn't enter the bench area until the other team was completely gone from the bench area. We could eliminate the shaking hands. Those are just a few examples. We're willing to do whatever it takes to make this happen. So yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. I wanted to throw it out to your guys and see what your guys' thoughts were, and see if it's anything that you guys are would consider holding this year. I know it might not be a possibility with the coronavirus and whatnot, but I just wanted to reach out to you guys and see if it's a possibility.
Yeah, so Alex, this is Josh here, and a couple questions for you. First of all, would you tell the board what the purpose of the tournament is? Just for the record, Alex did reach out to me today in regards to it, and some of the challenges that we are facing with COVID-19 and some of the policies we put in place for the usage of the field, like canceling leagues and tournaments this summer and so on. So Alex is well aware that we have some strict COVID-19 precautions in place. But Alex, it's worth telling the board what the purpose of the tournament is for, because I think it's a really great cause. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of number one. On April, we had a teammate pass away. He was about 33 years old. 33 years old. And he passed away. You know, it's very sad, and it's the circumstances behind it they're very sad. Sean battled addiction for a long time. And Sean was a guy on our softball team. We started playing together about 5 years ago. And so the tournament, it's a memorial tournament for Sean Horvath, who played baseball from 5 years old. He's been part of the Rutland community since he was a baby. And he was a really huge part of the Rutland softball community. And so what we're doing with the memorial tournament is this is our way. We're going to be able to help contribute to Sean's memorial and his funeral, because all the proceeds, that's where it's going, is to Sean's funeral and whatnot. So yeah, that's where it's going to. It's been extremely hard. We haven't been able to do a funeral or play ball and get together for Sean. And it's been difficult. But like we said, we understand that you guys are under extreme, you guys have a lot of attention on you, and, there's a lot of pressure on you. So we completely understand, but we just wanted to put it out there, and, we wanted to know your guys' thoughts, because, we really want to have this tournament, and we really want to be able to do this for, ourselves and Sean's family.
Thanks, Alex. I'd like to hear from my colleagues if they had any thoughts or comments on this.
I do. If he's from Rutland, why have you not decided to do it in Rutland?
So that's a great question. So Rutland is open we're keeping all of our options open. So Rutland's not open to doing the tournament until August. So we have been in communication with Rutland. We are also in communication with Chester, Vermont. So we're desperate to have this tournament for Sean. So we're just looking for whatever venue is willing to host it. And we're not being forceful at all. We understand that this is very different times. So we're just putting it out there, and we're just we're just letting people kick it around. And once we get to that decision, if you guys were to allow us to use it, we would go that route. Or if another venue would allow us to use it, we would go that route. But right now we're just kind of in the searching. We're looking right now.
Okay, Alex.
I have to tell you, I'm not comfortable with it. With the coronavirus, we have to deal with our local town recreation, and you're sitting on benches. Benches would have to be washed in between tournaments. You've got all kinds of people there. I really have to tell you, as sad as it is, I'm not comfortable with it. But I guess I would ask you, JP, your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we couldn't hold out much hope for you. We're taking it. We're taking the future 2 weeks at a time, but, since April 8th, which is only 60 days ago, on April 8th, Vermont had 631 cases. On June 8th, it had 1,084 cases. So it's like a 42% increase in 60 days. So that's got to be our guiding light on. And so I wouldn't hold out any hope for July. And I don't know whether August is doubtful or not. It's too early to say. If you go by the original requirements for reopening, which I will acknowledge have been abandoned by a lot of state officials, but the original criteria was a 2-week plateau and a 2-week decline. And this last week, we've seen an additional 30 cases added to the rolls. So it doesn't look good, is all I'm saying.
John Paul, thank you. Mary, anything to add?
No, I have similar concerns. Thank you.
So, Alex, you and I talked to Caitlin yesterday. She had reached out, and like I said, Sean was a great guy. We went to high school together, and I feel for the family and everything. But I think at this time, we're probably going to hold off on giving you a definite yes. but it did sound like Chester was pretty interested in helping with the tournament, correct?
Yeah, they are. That is a possibility. And I just want to thank you guys for, listening to me. And, if I don't have an answer in a month, is it okay if we, talk about it in a month, talk about possibly late August, early September? Or is this something that we're just not open to this year?
No, we're not foreclosing anything. So please feel free to check back in with us.
Okay. Absolutely. So do you guys do this once a month or once a week or?
Every 2 weeks, every other Tuesday.
Okay, so I'll try again in a month if I'm still searching. And again, I really just appreciate you guys taking time out of your meeting and listening to me.
All right,
Thank you.
Alex. Good luck. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care. Okay, was there anyone else, any other public comment? Anyone that'd like to speak from the floor at this time? Okay, we'll get right to it. We'll go to Bill Sweet. Bill,
Take it.
take it away.
Josh, sharing. Good evening. So we'll go through the packet items. A few things to address for the board. Number one is the updated committee schedules and agenda items, and those have been sent out to all the department heads as well. Number two is the Harbor Freight Act 250 application. The Planning Commission did have the opportunity to go over it last Thursday, and Barbara is going to review for you all their summary of it. And then if we're prepared tonight, I have a copy for Josh to be able to sign for the board, if you want to do that. So that's to be for Barbara to go over as well. And then number three is the follow-up letter that I gave you all last time. Number four is a resolution that was sent out by VLCT. They sent it out to all the towns to give the opportunity to adopt it and it covers response to COVID-19 and the related costs for it. So there's a resolution there. If you'd like, we have a copy here. If you'd like to adopt that.
What's the board's pleasure on this resolution number 4?
Well, just for I move we adopt it. This is Mary.
Second.
Motion to adopt this. Seconded by John Paul. For discussion at this time, I'll just read the top portion of it for the record. All cities, towns, and villages in Vermont are essential. In Vermont, local officials support fair and direct federal emergency aid to reopen the local American economies. This talks about the budget shortfalls we're all going to face. Could possibly affect services, including emergency services and so on. So, further discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
There is an original there for you. Number 5 is the annual MOU for the board between the town and SPAC for Chief Dumas.
All right.
What's the board's pleasure on that?
Well, shouldn't we hear from the chief on that?
Yeah, I'd like to hear if there's any changes, but so we'll
Right.
talk to the chief.
We'll hold off. We'll hold off for the chief's report. We can wait for you, Ed. Number 6 is an outside consumption permit from the 99 restaurants. They're looking to serve alcohol outside from the hours of 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's the board's pleasure here.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve. Seconded by Mary for discussion.
They've had a liquor license from us in the past, and I think the chief has said in the past there haven't been any problems. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming
I did ask
that's
that.
the case?
He's shaking his head. No problems.
Yeah, they have a current license, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This is for literally outside. They're doing dining in
Right.
the parking lot, so this allows them to serve
Yep.
alcohol outside. And the last thing in that packet.
Wait. We haven't. Do we need to vote on this?
Yeah. All those in favor?
Sorry.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. The last part of the packet is from Kari. That's the current budget status sheets. So that's from her. And then just a few things I sent you this afternoon to discuss. One is from letter A is from Barbara. That's the detail of their review of the Act 250 application for Harbor Freight. And I'm going to skip you. Letter C is from Mike Rowe. It's the latest guideline from the governor's office on organized sports and addresses the changes that are coming June 15th. So that's in there from Mike Rowe. Yeah. So going back to B, these are 4 sewer allocations. These are properties that do not use the allocation. The first one, Brillies, we've been able to find no record of who that is, where that is, or anything. So it's a pretty small one, but there's no way to notify the person or organization. I can't find anything. The second one is Carmel Properties. That's for Carmel Place. That was originally acquired in anticipation of that development, but they made their own arrangements with Rutland City directly, did not need the allocation. They are aware of this meeting and did not file anything for an objection. The next one, Rutland Commons, that was for the proposed development of Route 7 South and US 4 by Holiday Inn. That was granted a while ago. They received their notice, did not call or did not file anything for an objection. And the last one is Karis Plastics. That's for the building right down here on Ripley Road behind the office. No one's really sure why they had one. Their sewer goes to West Rutland. Their water comes from the city, but they do not use sewer discharge to the city. So they received their application and did not file anything for an objection. So I offer those 4 as other ones for withdrawal.
So I would move that the 4 properties have their allocations withdrawn.
Second.
Motion by Mary, second
Third.
by Sharon. Nice job on this, Bill. Really good work here. For discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. There is one other one that's going to be for a hearing for next one, and they are going to want to have a hearing and discuss it. So
Who is it?
Hubbard's on Stratton Road, but there's a question of whether or not they're using it. So they're supposed to be getting me proof that they actually are using it because they say they are, and if they are, then we're good. So that will be to be determined. So they've got their notice, but we're just going to wait to hear back on that. Other than that, I do not have anything else for you at this point.
What do we have? Let's do a year report, Chief. All right. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate all your hard work.
Absolutely.
Let's go to Gary Clark, Town Clerk and Treasurer.
Hi, Josh. Can you hear me?
I can, Carrie. Yes. How are you?
Great. I'm well. How are you?
Just fine. Thanks.
Okay, so just a couple quick things from last meeting. There was a request that I come prepared for the end of the year fiscal year report, and I have that available. The hard copy of our calculations is in Josh's hands, and I'd be happy to email anything to any of the board members that request a copy. So we are looking good with just a couple weeks before we close the fiscal year. Each department is doing well. They have anticipated excess in each of their expenditures. And the bottom line is right now, as of today, as of this afternoon, we are looking at about $127,492 and some change being excess from the fiscal year. And that is taking account all of the things that we know we will anticipate for the next couple of weeks, meaning salaries and certain bills that we are aware of. What I do have for a request is that all the department heads just give me a quick email if they know of any upcoming expenses that are going to be within this fiscal year that we're not aware of yet. And as such, any income that we are not aware of that they may be getting within the next couple of weeks. I'll send out an email to everybody just as a reminder. But if you want to do that before you get your email and you have any information, you can just send that along to us and we'll plug it in because this is a working document and so far looking really great. So that is the report for the fiscal year. And my
Kari, a couple things.
yeah.
Here. Would you email this to every board member so they can see it, please? Also, so just to summarize quickly, if the fiscal year ended today, which we know that we have one more expense cycle or payroll cycle before the end of the fiscal year, we would have a surplus excluding highway. This is police, fire, and rec because we know highway is dealt with differently. We'd have a surplus of $127,492, which would then be deposited into the town's capital improvements fund. It's going to be a little less because there's going to be different expenses that pop up over the next few weeks. But you know, we conservatively could say that we're going to have $100,000 because of our spending freeze that we're going to deposit into that capital improvements fund. Do you agree with that?
I agree wholeheartedly with that. That is correct.
Okay. That's a testament to the hard work of our department heads who took the spending freeze seriously and held back where they could. So nice job to our department heads.
I agree. Each department looks good and they kept a good eye on their budget this year, even without the COVID happening, and nice job. The very last thing that I just wanted to say very quickly is we looked at the hours for the business office for July 4th because it falls on a weekend. And we are going to close for that Monday rather than the Friday before the holiday. It'll be after. So just take note of that and we'll send a reminder and post signs up as necessary. But that's all I have.
So is that when the national holiday is going to be celebrated as well?
I actually don't know that for a fact. I can look into that.
Because we would want to coordinate our day with the federal day.
Okay. I'll look into that.
Okay, great.
Any questions for Kari? All right, Kari, thanks for your help. And should be noted that Chris Clark, our fire chief, is at a training tonight, so he won't be with us. So appreciate it, Kari.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kari.
Thanks.
Barbara.
Hi. Hi, Josh.
Hi there.
Want to start with Harbor Freight, the Act 250?
Let's do it.
Okay. So what the planning commission there did there was to primarily look at the criteria in the application. And we came up with 7 areas where either some information was left off or we thought was erroneous. And those 7 are on the sheet that I believe Bill shared with you. So if you have any questions about those, I'll certainly try to answer those.
I guess just give me an overall, the board, a quick synopsis. I mean, do you feel like we're moving in the right direction here, or are there a lot of roadblocks in the way here for Harbor Freight?
Well, I think they're just minor things that they missed in the application. So I think, you know, Bill sat through this discussion, so he could probably respond for the town. You know, they miss things like, you know, it is in prime ag soil. For some reason, they kept insisting that it was in a downtown development district or a village center or a growth center. And I checked with the planner at the Regional Planning Commission who deals with these state designations, and there's nothing anywhere close, you know, geographically for any of those designations. And then there was just like typos. It gave the same date for the city adopting its master plan as, you know, we did with our town plan last October. And
All right, so you feel, I mean, these minor things I can clean up, but you feel like they're on good footing and we're moving in the right direction to see a Harbor Freight in Rutland town.
right.
Okay.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
I think,
The one thing we don't have yet, or maybe we do, are the comments from each of the department heads, because they needed to sign off on fire, police, and so on. But Barbara wasn't, I don't think she was asked to review that part.
Did anyone ask departments to get involved?
I asked that Bill send out the questionnaire to each of the department heads so that they could, instead of Bill just doing a sign off for all of them, that they actually had to look at the numbers and see if there were any problems that popped up. So maybe Bill knows if that had occurred.
All right, so Bill's telling me that we haven't received any objections to the project.
Okay. You know, and I think there would the one big question, and it isn't very big, is the fact that Bill Burke wanted more traffic information for Harbor Freight, but I don't see that they're adding many new cars to that intersection, so I doubt if that's going to be a problem.
yeah, I think Bill Burke mentioned that there should be a new traffic study because there's now 2 businesses instead of just the one there.
Yeah.
Just to get the information.
So, since it's really not that controversial, do we just ask Bill Sweet to be in touch with Bill Burke to point out these small inconsistencies, or does the Planning Commission think we should do anything more formal than that?
That sounds fine, I think.
All right, so we'll have Bill Sweet have a conversation with Bill Burke about this. There's no way for us to, we recommend that the traffic study isn't over here. I mean, it's one new business on the south end of town. It's not like we're putting it in a residential neighborhood or something here where it's going to increase traffic by 500 cars a day.
I think, go ahead, Bill.
No, this is John. One of the things
Oh, sorry.
I didn't like about what the notice seemed to indicate that they had to treat the traffic study, including the Aldi trips. They wanted a cumulative total.
So do we put together a letter just asking that section, that request be waived?
I would almost not do anything. If Bill wants to pursue it and let the developers push back. I mean, they may have the Aldi numbers anyway, and they can do projections for the possible Harbor Freight numbers. So I'm not sure that it's a huge thing, and I'm just trying to think ahead. Are there any things that we may want traffic numbers on in, you know, in like the city that we don't want to say no on this one in the town? Just thinking out loud.
John Paul, Sharon?
I'm comfortable.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we understand what's going to happen. Bill and Bill are going to get together and discuss, you know, a few things, and with the emphasis that the town certainly supports this project. So, all right, Barb, what else do you have?
Yeah, just a couple other things. I noticed on the agenda you had the stormwater ordinance online map.
That's just sitting there, just waiting in limbo until the new fiscal year.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was planning on, okay.
Yeah, it's
And I
just
talked to Andres about that, and he's not expecting any payment until the next fiscal year.
okay.
That's right? Okay. And then the third item is Otter Creek 3. So you asked the Planning Commission to look at the letter that we got from the developers, the letter from May 26. We had a lot of discussion about that last week, and it was moved that that the Planning Commission received the letter from Elko, and the Planning Commission recommends the project move forward without a further review. So then today, after Elko gets the minutes, looks at the minutes from our meeting, they kind of jumped to some conclusions that the town didn't want this to go through the PUC process and wanted to waive the 45-day notice, which is nothing that we talked about the Planning Commission in. And I'm not quite sure where they got these ideas. So I think we know, you know, this developer likes to go back and forth a lot. I think personally, I think it's a good idea that we just respond that we received the letter, and maybe that's just it. And we try to stop this back and forth.
Makes sense to me.
You mean back and forth with the Planning Commission?
With the developer.
Right, the developer and the Planning Commission going back and forth. Okay.
Did you folks see the email from this afternoon?
I don't think so, do we?
No, I don't.
You all have it.
Bill says we have it.
It says, it reads, "Thanks, Bill. We really appreciate the Planning Commission voting in favor of allowing us to proceed with the amended project." That's not what we did. Can you please have the Planning Commission clarify that the 45-day notice is waived in connection with their decision? This will allow us to proceed in the existing docket before the PUC. The same request should be made to the Select Board as well, i.e. a request that they grant a waiver of the 45-day notice. Thank you. Please call me with any questions.
Well, so you have to do more than not respond to that, because it's not accurate. You have to refute what they say and tell them we didn't do what they say that you did.
I agree.
And then reflect that the Planning Commission's sole action was to receive the letter. Wasn't that what happened?
Say that again?
Was the planning commission's sole action was to receive the letter.
Right, right. And so the rest of it has to be
And not
refuted, though,
waiver or
otherwise,
any of that.
I'm sorry, we talked on each other.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so just to make sure everyone's on the same page, we want to refute what that email said. Tell them that's not the plan. And that's not what we intended to have happen. We are not waiving the 45-day process.
Yeah, and we don't appreciate their representation that we did. I mean, that's just irresponsible.
And the reason they're probably asking is because, you know, they messed up and didn't include the town planning commission when they did the first 45-day notice.
Okay, this is a lot more than asking, Barbara. This is kind of like just doing it underhandedly.
I agree. I'm not comfortable with these people.
That letter needs to get out sooner rather than later.
So can Bill send it, or should the chair of the planning commission send it?
I don't know. What do you think?
Oh.
The last
Maybe
letter
they
was
could-
sent by Josh and myself.
Well, maybe this one should be too.
Yeah.
With Mary Ashcroft's involvement again, Mary and Barbara wrote a pretty beautiful letter.
Yeah, they did.
I just had the good fortune.
Okay. Well, it was mostly Barbara, but yeah, let's do another quick letter. It's pretty short, but let's refute that. And then to be signed by Barbara and the select board. And the select board has not taken any position on the 45-day waiver. And
Yeah, we did. I thought we said we weren't going to give them a waiver.
okay, I mean,
Right.
that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Did they ask before?
Yes,
I think they did.
they did, and we said no.
I think JP's right, yeah. So we should also state that in the letter.
Yeah, good point.
All right, Barb, what's next?
That's all I have.
Anything for the planning commission? I see a couple planning commission members are here, Andy McCain and Howard Burgess. Howard,
I
did
have a little,
you,
go
anything
ahead.
planning commission wise, Howard, or were you here for another reason?
Say that again, Josh?
I said, were you here for the planning commission, or were you here for another reason?
No, I'm just here, just to be here, that's all.
Just for fun.
Yeah, I missed most of the planning commission meetings, so I got a little
Okay.
caught up with it right here.
Andy McCain, you're here. Anything from the planning commission for you?
Yeah, no, just observing.
All right, sir. Thanks for being here.
Josh?
Yes, Mary.
Okay, we can do it here, or we can do it down under committee or whatever projects list. But I was in touch with Green Mountain Power's consultant on the Pocket Park.
Oh, good.
And yeah, we went back and forth on just, you know, in general, where do we go next? And we think the appropriate thing to do would be to provide the Planning Commission and the additional other couple of people that we added to our ad hoc committee, and I think you might be on that too, Josh.
I am.
And ask the planning, and I am too, and let's see, there's two other people. Anyway, ask the committee to take a look at two plans that were done. One was, you know, fairly recent, a couple of years ago by Otter Creek Engineering, with some ideas, and the other was done, probably 15 or 20 years ago by Terry Boyle, and that was provided by Green Mountain Power. So I think Bill has both of those. If not, Bill, let me know, and I'll get whichever one you're missing over to you. And then put together a working session to come up with a blended plan that might address some of the things that we're kind of hoping to see over there. A canoe launch area, a fishing area, picnic tables, paths, that kind of thing. So we're kind of tossing it to the ad hoc committee and the planning commission to do that. And That's the next step, and then we'll get it back then to the select board for approval, and then we'll go to Green Mountain Power and say, this is what we've got, and then start talking easements and who's going to do what.
Sounds like a plan. Bill, you did not have what?
I do not have Green Mountain Power's plans.
Bill doesn't have Green Mountain Power's plans, Mary.
Okay, let me see what I probably do over here.
And the planning commission will look at this on the 25th of June. Hopefully we'll have both site plans by then.
Yep. I'll see if I can get them over to Bill when I go to sign the orders, bills, and warrants tomorrow.
Okay, great. Anything else planning related? All right, let's go to Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
Hello,
Michael, how are you?
I'm good. How are you all?
Good.
So I see we're on the agenda. I think we're number 2 on the agenda about Northwood Park opening. I hope everybody got a chance to look at my pool safety plan that I sent out a couple weeks ago. Just want to kind of hear, a lot of things have kind of popped in the past week or so as far as moving things up and allowing things. So I'm just kind of curious as to what the board would like to do in regards to the.
Yeah, so let's hear from the board members to see what their level of interest right now is with opening Northwood, and see if we can come up with some kind of a consensus here. So Sharon, did you say something?
Well, I'd started to. I would like to table it for 2 more weeks. I know that's a delay, but I want to see what this COVID does as a result of the different protests. And I'm really not comfortable with kids in the pool and 3 lifeguards, and the parents are outside the pool. So I just would ask to table it for 2 more weeks.
Can I?
Go ahead, Mike. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I just I guess I want to explain kind of what the plan is, and I totally respect what you want to do, and that's why I'm asking. My thought and my plan, just so we're clear on what was happening, is that there would be 25 people allowed as per required. 3 of those would be lifeguards, and that would mean 22 people would be able to be in the pool area. My plan is to run it like a water park where you're in for 2 hours and then your time is up. We would disinfect completely, clean the bathrooms, clean whatever needs to be done. And then the next group would come in, and then we would repeat the process. We wouldn't have any chairs out. They would have to bring their own chairs, and we can section off parts of the pool where people can stay. So that was, that's part of the plan. And as far as, just so that you know, we was talking to other rec directors, Rutland City.
Hey, Mike.
Are you?
Froze.
I lost him.
Yeah, I see him on the screen. He's frozen right now. Oh. He's making an ugly face on the screen, by the way, frozen.
Those settings to work with kids. So just putting that out there, I understand everyone's concerns.
Mike Rowe.
That would be our plan.
Mike Rowe, you got to rewind about a minute. You froze in space.
Oh, I did?
Yes.
Oh, where did I freeze?
Well, last thing we heard was something about Rutland City.
Oh, so Rutland City is opening on the 15th for their pool, and Pittsford is opening their pool on the 20th. Just as a reference, I'm just putting that out there in communication with them. Other than that, whatever you feel, as long as you understand the plan, I just wanted to make sure that that was my plan and your thoughts on it and looking at it, and any questions you might have of what we would do for making sure it was safe as possible.
So, Mike, that 22 people, that would include parents, swimmers. That'd be 22 people combined, and then your 3 lifeguards.
Correct.
So parents wouldn't sit in their cars or something like that. Everyone would be welcome in.
Correct. Everyone is in the pool area. It will be for a designated time.
And
I'm assuming it's going to be families.
concession stands would be shut down for the summer.
There's no concession stand. It's strictly they can go in and swim. We can eliminate the kiddie pool too, if that's the case. There's lots of things we can talk about as far as how you want to control it.
Great.
But that's what was in the plan, and I'm
Mary,
open to listen to what people. Would
So
like to do.
how many people a day then, with this plan in effect, can actually use the pool?
So theoretically, we would have 3 sessions of 2-hour times. So that's 75 people. And then our adult swim would take place. And we typically have anywhere from, 2 to no more than 12 adults that are swimming during their time. So you're looking at under 100 people per day.
And how many do we usually serve?
Well, see, everybody canceled all of their related programming like Tapestry and all those
Right.
programs have been canceled. And that was, to be honest with you, that and swim lessons are canceled. That was easily 75% of our business. So our walk up for pools was probably 25% of our business, maybe a little bit more on a daily use. So, our swim lessons in our groups that would come in made up quite a large portion of our attendance, if that makes sense.
Mary, further questions or comments?
Well, I mean, it doesn't sound like we're serving very many people. I agree with the precautions, but I'm wondering whether it's worth it.
Well, depending on how things go, within a time period, they're going to expand to 50 people. That's the governor's plan from what I've read and seen. Now, I know that all depends on a lot of things. I understand that. But we're still allowing potentially 75 people to enjoy Northwood Pool a day, which are actually quite a few people if you think of the fact that we might have, maybe 50 people that come per day, whether there be families or.
Okay, that's kind of that's what we're comparing it with. All right.
Mike, you're talking, but we're not hearing you.
Not a bad thing.
Did we not hear JP then? Huh?
We heard him loud and clear. Mike, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, good. Thanks. Welcome back.
That's a good thing.
So I like the plan. I'm in favor of trying something. I think that we need to move slowly, but we need to come up with something, in my opinion. Other communities are doing it, and people have to take some self-responsibility for their own safety and what's right and wrong for their families. And I think they have a right to have the opportunity in a very small setting of 25 people at a large facility to try. And I would be in favor myself of opening sometime in the later half of June, maybe that week of the 21st or something like that. And that gives another week or two to see, if we see a spike in the area of COVID, then we have another discussion. But we still have Rutland County is fortunate. We still have a very low load count of COVID. So if we tentatively planned on, in my opinion, we open maybe that Sunday the 21st or something like that, I could probably support that. But John Paul, as Town Health Officer, I'd love to hear your feedback.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you or Sharon said, but it seems to make sense just to table it for 2 weeks. That gets us to about the same point you're talking about, and we'll be in a better position to see whether we're going to pay a price for recent activities or not. Just in the last 4 days, we've had 74 more cases in Vermont. And if you look at the history of this disease, once it crests 1,000, it's much harder to stop. And we've seen that. I mean, we jumped from 964 to 1,084 in just 7 or 8 days. So I just feel it's too risky now. We should table it for 2 weeks.
So this is Mary, a question for Mike. If we tabled it for 2 weeks, are we still going to be able to ramp up if we decide to go forward?
Yes, because typically, if school were still in session, let's say, we were scheduled to get out, I think it was like June 22nd, I think was like our day. So we typically open when school is out. So it's okay if you want to table it and wait. I mean, you would open for the weekends as a soft opening, and then once school is out, then we would go and open. So I'm okay with that. I will need some of the guards to come in and get some stuff basically ready, but other than that, we will be in good shape to go. I have all the supplies needed for cleaning and protection, and all that stuff is all ready to go.
Okay,
It's up to
so
you guys.
Sharon, did you move to table or did you just suggest it?
Well, I will move the table to 2 weeks. That would bring us,
Okay.
it would be, our board meeting would be that Tuesday.
Right.
So,
I'll second.
Second. Okay, sorry. Third.
All right, motion to table by Sharon, second by John Paul. For discussion.
No, I was third.
John Paul's third. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we're going to table for 2 weeks with the after a good conversation with the hopes of opening it early this summer. So, okay, Mike, what else you got for us?
So then the other part I have is, if you look at what gave you for your things that can open up again, I'm using other parts of the park. As for example, tennis. We should be able to open tennis again. Basketball is one of the ones that they say should not. So I would recommend that we keep the hoops down unless you want to bring them back up. One of the guidelines is saying that that's more of a contact, and that should be not really permitted. But that's up to you. But tennis, I would ask that you open that up. We've had a couple people ask. The other is baseball is also on that list, with being able to initiate expanded team practices, and we haven't started yet. But we, as rec directors, are talking about trying to get something for kids to do and give them an outlet, and families an outlet for things to do. One of them would be essentially bringing back some form of baseball, whether it's clinics or what have you, and just see where that goes. But once again, that's up to you. If you want that to kind of happen, there is an organization looking to use our fields. Little League is looking to use it, however they're going to use it, is what they're asking. So we wouldn't really be on that, only because it says right now that you can have what's called inter-squad scrimmages, still keeping by the guidelines of 25 people. So I'm just looking what you would like to do about those kind of aspects as well.
I would like to make a motion to open tennis, not open basketball, and not open baseball.
Okay.
Motion on the floor by Sharon. Is there a second?
I'll second that, yeah. Here's my thinking. I mean, it's one thing to start the activities for Little League, but then there are all of the spectators that come with it, and I don't know how we would control that. And
No,
I think
agree with you.
yeah.
That was I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, the governor's guidelines were talking about the scrimmages and all that, but I don't see how you stop people, especially parents, from being out there and, congregating.
Right.
That was a discussion we had with our rec directors at our meeting today, is like, we're not going to be the social distancing police. That was part of the concern is yes,
Yeah.
with little kids, you have little parents. And so, is somebody going to stand there with a clicker? I mean, I know we're in that time.
Even with big kids, Mike, we have little parents.
Mike, you're gone again.
I sent him to the deep.
There's a motion on the floor, seconded by Mary for discussion. John Paul, anything to add?
No.
Okay, so the motion is to resume tennis, leave the basketball hoops down, and at this time, no organized baseball. Correct, Sharon?
Right.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Heard 2 ayes. John Paul, did you vote?
Not yet.
Well, what's your input, John?
Oh,
Okay.
As health officer, I don't know how you open the park like that partially, and then who's going to police it, and I'm not comfortable with the activities occurring. But I understand that tennis is kind of a unique thing, and that some feel that it is. But that's my view
Well,
of it.
how about if can I redo that, Josh?
well, we have a
Well,
motion.
since the motion failed,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want to do.
Okay, I make a motion that we do not open up tennis, basketball, or baseball. Because I think I see your point, John, at this time. Yeah, I see your point, John.
We're going the wrong direction here. You're now saying that we're going to not open tennis either?
Correct.
That's not what...
He makes the point. He makes
John, you
the
didn't
point,
just say
Josh.
that, did you?
He makes the point where if we open up, although it is open, it's open up to walkers.
Well, how the heck can... If a husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, friends, colleagues want to go up and 2 people want to go play tennis, I mean, what the heck's the difference between that and 2 people walking?
You're right. I just realized that yes, they're already walking up there. So, yeah, I'll go back to my original.
Well, look, the original failed, so let me try this. I move that we allow tennis to go forward, and I'll just leave it at that.
All right, so the motion on the floor is to allow tennis to resume at Northwood and Dewey.
Dewey.
But
Is
that isn't answering the basketball and baseball.
Well, let's handle
Not right now, it's not, so.
Okay.
So is there a second to Mary's motion? To allow tennis?
Yes. Yep.
The second, Sharon?
Yep.
All those in favor to allow tennis, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion passes 3-1. Is there any further discussion on basketball or baseball?
Yes. I make a motion that we do not have basketball or baseball
At this time?
Second.
at this time. Yep.
Second. Oh, third. Sorry, JP. You can have this one.
Motion on the floor to, at this time, to not allow baseball or basketball to take place at Northwood or Dewey. Seconded by John Paul. I would like to see it, my personal opinion, at some point this summer, I would love to see us figure out a way, Mike, to come up with some type of a clinic, like you said, or something for baseball for kids, and maybe that, the coach and the kids can participate and the parents sit with the AC on and they watch their kids from the car or something. But
Yeah, we're working on that. We've had discussions, and we're trying to make it so that we can get something for them to do moving forward. I know it's still early. I know. I'm going to bring it to you next week next meeting as well, until people feel comfortable, and I totally respect all of that.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, Mike, what else you got?
Okay, I got one last thing. I kind of stumbled upon it the other day. I was working at the park. By the way, the park is looking really good. I'm getting a lot done. Clean up. Thank you to Byron. We had a nice little tree we had to clean up the other day, and I appreciate that. The only other question I have is Green Mountain Power was up in the park and just over by the pool, and so my natural curiosity took over. Was going down and asking them, can I help you, what have you, and they were talking about putting up telephone poles for power lines, and that really got me concerned because we have no poles in our park. They were talking about 50-foot poles for the solar, and so I just was concerned as to why they would potentially put up poles in Northwood Park where we don't have anything like that. So that was just, my concern, that I stumbled upon that and just wanted to ask you or bring that to you. So that's all I have.
So we are investigating that in order to salvage the solar project. It'll be a single line rather than going underground from the field to the transformer.
But we haven't decided it yet. We're at the point.
No, we're just looking at it. Yeah.
Right. I guess JP can, when we do the Energy Committee report, talk about that.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks. I don't have anything else unless you guys have stuff for me. And thank you very much for your time tonight.
All right, Mike,
Thanks.
anything for rec from
Thank you, Mike.
my colleagues?
Nope.
All right, hearing none, we'll go to Byron Hathaway, Town Road Commissioner. How are you, Byron?
Well, good. Just to start the evening off here on a high note, Kari's report, she did not include the highway fund as of June 4th. It did not include the current orders. I was at $143,799. So there's definitely going to be well over $100,000 in the highway fund as of June 30th, or at the end of the fiscal year.
Good job.
Okay.
Excellent
Thank
job.
you. Especially with the weird winter we've had.
Right?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's over.
Next question I have talked with Bronson Spencer, trying to find out where he's at, finishing up those set of plans since he's had last fall for that Ragosta project. And I texted him again the other day, asking for some type of update that I could bring you people, and haven't had no reply from him. I know the homeowner up there and a potential landowner purchase up there would like to know where we're going to go with that and when that can be accomplished. So I don't really know what my next step would be there, other than to keep trying to badger Mr. Spencer in regards to finishing up those plans. Do you have any other suggestions?
Well, we can go back to the enforcement approach and see if we can't get their attention that way.
How do you mean that, John?
Well, didn't they, when they did what they did, didn't they disturb an area that had been set aside?
Correct.
And so they'd be responsible for restoring that area if we were to insist upon that, which is where we had gone originally, which resulted in this conversations about the new pathway for the water.
We engaged Mr. Spencer's services to come up with that mitigation.
Right. Which we were prepared to accept as long as it got done, and that I believe we'd even talked to Kevin about pursuing it. So if we got to go back to that track in order to get this done, because otherwise aren't we going to have a problem in the road on the winter?
Well, yeah, I mean, last winter he was still pumping water across the road occasionally.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Let's try Bronson one more time, and just tell him we've really got to move on this year. and we really need something from him. Before we go the enforcement route, let's try our own, the engineer we hired to do this.
Okay, I will do that.
And maybe I'm just looking at this too simply, but and a neighbor up there mentioned it to me a couple weeks ago. I saw him in passing, and he said, geez, it seems like such an easy project. Why the heck did you guys even need an engineer? I mean, really, all we're doing is we have the bullocks. The bullocks are supportive of directional boring that water down the hill into their pond. So really, all we need, Byron, is Ragosta to hire someone to divert that water down the edge of the road into the pond. Correct?
Correct. And we have a set of preliminary drawings from Bronson.
So what do we need Bronson for?
Add to them are specifications for materials, and I don't know why you can't get that done.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, what do we need Bronson for at this point? We just got to, tell the Ragostas, let's get going on this thing this summer before the ground freezes.
And what are our specs for doing it?
Right. And
or do they just get to do it any way they want to?
No.
Which didn't work out so good the first time.
He took a hose and dumped it on our property.
The set of the preliminary.
There you go.
We're on. Yeah. If we wait till Bronson comes up with the specifications and that sort of thing, then we've got some leverage if something doesn't go just right.
Right, because I've gotten calls from 2 neighbors who complained about the water going onto their line.
Yeah. Josh, why don't you call Bronson and see if you can get a result?
I'm happy to if you'd like me to try.
Sure. Well, you're the boss. I mean, you'd think he'd pay attention when the boss calls.
Yeah.
I'll get you a cell phone number, Josh.
All right, bye.
Okay. Just a reminder that the people in the Windmere development on Killington Avenue, we're hoping to do a walk around toward the end of the month. So I just throwing that there for you. I would, and the last thing I have for you is I would like a committee meeting to go over the list of projects I had. So maybe we can have that go ahead here by the next board meeting, and I can get started on some things.
That's fine with me. Joe's not in on this, so yeah. But we'll pick a date and go with it, and hope Joe can join us.
Okay. Other than that, roadside mowing is under motion. The post road area is done. The East Pittsford Road area will be almost done tomorrow and moving around town. Should be pretty well wrapped up by the end of next week. First mowing. And that's going very well. And I guess, we did have a sign up at Northwood Park. That was a road closed ahead sign at the tennis court area. Mike thought the wind blew it over, but someone actually released the lever and probably took the sign. So just mentioning that sign did probably get taken. So I will have to, after July 1, or I will order up a replacement for that. Those are 100 to 125 little signs.
Byron, what are the standards or specifications that would enact you to put one of the deer crossing signs somewhere on a road throughout town?
Just a request for it. I put them up in the past in certain areas, and then later taking them down and when movements change, that sort of thing. I don't know if I have one currently on hand. I'd have to order one.
So back around town meeting day, Mr. Stubbins' daughter and her granddaughter, I don't know, she's 6 or 7 years old, at the town meeting day meetings, she gave me a pretty good argument as to why they need a deer crossing sign by their house. And they live somewhere, I believe, on Post Road by Chisana Drive somewhere on the corner.
Deer crossing the road there this morning when I went to work.
So I forgot, unfortunately, but then I just remembered, and I told them that I would talk to you about that, and that little girl would be she's very scared that her deer that she loves to see are going to get hit by a car. So I said, well, I would talk to you about it and see if we could put one up.
Can do.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
I thanked Byron before, but I had an inquiry from an attorney representing someone who wants to buy the Cheney Hill property. Of course, we don't own it anymore. The school does. But because of it's the next generation of school leadership there, so they didn't have the institutional memory. So I asked Howard and I asked Byron what they knew about it, and they gave us, especially Byron, some good guidance on where the attorney could research to find some additional information that may help her out. She was trying to find what's there for septic and when it was installed and what the capacity was. So thank you, Byron and Howard, for providing that information.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for Byron? As always, we appreciate your efforts, Byron. Nice job.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Chris Clerk's absent. Was there any fire department representation on the phone? And under new business, letter D and letter G, D and G, we're gonna we'll hold off on talking about those until we have a spreadsheet to talk about. Letter G, board to discuss the replacement of the town fire truck. That can come up quickly in the department or the committee report that I'll go over. All right, let's go to letter G under town departments. None other than Chief Ed Dumas.
Good evening. So first, to go over the Vermont SIU grant program, this is what I've done for the last almost 5 years for the town. It's just they'll pay $60,000 of my salary, and the MOU is that we the SIUs handle all the sex assault and serious bodily injury cases with children and some adults in Rutland County. Any questions on that?
Have you gone over it?
85.
If you go to the second page, Mary, it says 60.
Okay. So, okay, that's
compensation, right, Chief?
What's that?
85 includes your everything you're compensated as a
Correct.
okay. Did JP start to say something?
No, I just wanted to know if Ed read it over and he was satisfied with it.
Yeah, it's the same paperwork as we had before, JP.
Yeah, I'd move to approve.
Second.
Motion by John, second by Mary for discussion. Is there a place on here, Ed, for me to sign?
I think in the back.
Does Mary, would your motion, or John Paul, would your motion include
Yes,
authorization for me
to authorize you to sign on behalf
Correct.
of the board. I thought
Yes.
I heard John Paul say that.
Yes, yes. Third.
I remember that too. All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay, the next thing is calls of service. This last 2-week period, we're up to 73 calls. There is quite a few directed patrols, but that is mainly to document where we're running radar in the town. Any questions there?
Keeping busy.
Yes. With Amber working the road, Officer Hool, it's an extra person, so I know the state police calls are way down and ours are way up.
We
JP?
like you guys.
Oh, nice. Thank you. JP, what are you doing? Cooking in the background there? I hear a lot of noise.
I'm sorry. The number you have reached is not in service at this time. Please check your directory or ask your operator for assistance.
So, JP? JP?
Yes.
I do have some haddock if you're interested.
Oh, geez.
Oh, boy. Let's see. Chief Dumas, are you all set?
I'm all set, unless you guys have some other questions for me.
We appreciate all your hard work.
Why don't you go shine your Wally wagon?
I also had to thank the second constable. He was even running some radar this past weekend. So.
Actually, we're all busy at the, we're on standby for the city for the peaceful demonstration for Black Lives Matters went on.
Okay. All right. At this time, we're going to go to John Paul Fagnan, Town Health Officer.
Well, we pretty much discussed what would have been on my agenda to discuss already. If anybody else has any comments or questions, they're certainly welcome.
Anything for John? Okay. Committee meeting updates. I can start with fire, unless you want to talk fire, John.
No, go ahead, Josh.
There's one correction. The fire committee meeting says the energy committee, so we just have to get that corrected. The gist of it is engine 3, which is located on McKinley Avenue. It's primarily the first responding truck to accidents. That truck is 21 or 22 years old, and unfortunately, we were notified by Earl's truck repair that this is the last year that they will inspect that truck due to significant frame and body rot that's underneath it. So that puts us in a position where, unfortunately, this truck didn't make the 25-year life expectancy that we have in our truck replacement plan. So we would be looking to moving up the date of purchase. The fire department is going to start formulating. Actually, they're meeting tomorrow for the first time. There's a committee of 5 or 6 members with the chief to discuss the plans for a replacement truck, what they need, and so on. Trucks have certainly changed a lot in 22 years. And so that was the big gist of the committee. The committee felt like, there was no other response but to start formulating the committee. The fire committee told the fire department that there was really nothing else but to go ahead and form a truck building committee at this time because we, less than a year away from that truck not being roadworthy, and that's a very active truck in our department. As it sits right now, we have $600 and something thousand in the fire department depreciation account. By the time this truck would be purchased, we'd have $750,000 after 3 more installments were put in it from tax payments. So that's sort of where the fire department is headed. I'd love to hear some feedback from Mary and Sharon, who were not at the meeting.
Well, I have a question about what gets slid on the replacement schedule then.
It was a, what truck gets bumped out of the way?
This was the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry. This was the next one, Mary. It's just a year or two earlier than, unfortunately, had been planned.
Okay.
Yeah. Aaron, did you have a question?
Nope, it was answered.
John Paul, anything to add?
All set.
And that was $660,000 we have in that account, so we'll have over $800,000 time this truck is, if we accept the bids, go out to bid, accept the bids, and then need to probably write the check. So, and the last fire truck that we bought was somewhere in the vicinity of $525,000.
So do we ever go for used fire trucks? Hey, I'm just asking. I don't know.
I think I asked.
No, we had that discussion. The problem, Mary, is that the used market is primarily filled with trucks that departments are selling because their useful life is nearing the end. Once in a while, you can find I've been looking in the various publications, you can find, one that's 5, 8 years old, but that's rare. It's usually because the department is downsizing.
So that also means we're not going to get much for this one.
Not with the frame and the condition it's in, no.
Yeah.
I doubt you'd be able to even use it as a trade-in.
Yeah, sounds dubious. So this is just for information when we're actually now waiting until the committee comes in with the specs and we go out to bid, right?
That's correct, Mary. And I think the committee seems pretty motivated to get moving on this.
Good. Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something sooner than later. Just by the time you put it out to bid, you sign a contract, and then it's it can take 8, 10, 12 months to build it and then accept delivery. So,
Yeah.
you know, we might be looking at next spring and summer being without a truck for a few months because it's uninspectable and not safe for our men and women of the department. So,
Yeah, no, well, I know that we waited quite a while for the truck that just came in, so.
yeah. So that was the big discussion at the fire committee meeting. And then did Mary or John, did you want to talk about the energy committee meeting?
I'll be happy to. It was disappointing because we were informed that the smaller array that we had chosen was not economically feasible. And there was a suggestion about doing a larger field, but that impact on the park was aesthetically not acceptable to the committee. And then it came up that one of the largest, the biggest reason that it wasn't financially doable is the cost of putting the conduit underground. So we asked them to investigate what it would look like, because the field that we had chosen would probably pay a large chunk of our municipal electric bill for many years through the rental of the field as additional income as well. So it's really a positive project for the town, and I understand the aesthetic concerns, but we're just looking at alternatives right now, and I'd like, even if the pole thing does mean it could be a go, we're going to have to get some elevations and see. We don't want to be destroying any part of the park through this, so we don't have any good news to report on that. We're just now trying to salvage the project.
And know what the cost might be, as in.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, just.
So I said I would contact Bill Burke at the Act 250 office and ask what permit conditions there might be restricting power poles above ground, just to know whether we would need an Act 250 amendment or not. I don't think he didn't readily find one. He thought we might be able to do it without an Act 250 amendment, but I think we still need to take a closer look at what the original permit conditions were, and that's back to a question about Bill Sweet, whether he had enough Act 250 information that we could actually determine that from, but I don't think we have all of the permits in hand, do we?
Bill's telling me we do not, Mary.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know when I can get into the Act 250 office, if that's allowable yet, but it's going to take pulling all of the files, and I think there's like the original permit and something like 7 amendments to it, so it's going to take a while.
Mm.
Anyway, Mike Rowe, that's why Green Mountain Power was up there measuring, because this conversation had happened in the Energy Committee, but we have no authority to say, yeah, go ahead and do it that way. We're just exploring options.
Thank you.
Josh?
Hey, Byron.
Yeah, I had a lengthy conversation with the, Christ, can't remember her name now, and I got her business card. There are several options up there other than overhead for putting in three-phase power for that solar array to get down to the transformer. The only thing the poles were going to do was actually get the power from one side of the road to the other side of the road. There was still underground power that had to be dug from the pole down to the transformer pad. There was only 175 feet that was going to reduce the underground power requirement. In the preliminary numbers that she had worked up, actually the overhead with the 50-foot poles was actually going to cost more than putting the power underground. So I don't know if Green Lantern has explored all of these options or not. Another option is to just dig across in front of the salt shed out to the field, which is a short distance, and use the three-phase power that's in the salt shed and tap onto that to get the power from there back down to the transformer. Another option that could take place, but it might take a little arm twisting on the part of GMP, and that is to allow them to replace the single-phase line from the transformer down to the transformer by the highway garage and and pull that line out and install a three-phase line in that conduit. That's a 4-inch conduit that's available. They do require a 5-inch conduit, but she did have to admit that probably it could be done. That would then get everything down, the three-phase down to the far end of the landfill, and then a short distance of underground power from there to the array. So I think maybe Green Lantern needs to take a harder look at some of these other options, other than to put in 50-foot poles. It's only going to save them 175 feet of digging.
I would hate to see poles put up there. That's a beautiful spot, and if we can do it without poles, then that should be done.
Oh, yeah.
Byron, did I just
Sounds like Byron
hear
had
you on the
ideas.
Energy Committee?
What's that?
I said, Byron, did I just hear you volunteer to be on the Energy Committee?
No, I think that's
Second.
the committee, isn't it?
I thought that was pretty good.
Her business card, I'd be glad to put you in touch with the young lady and talk directly with her.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
thanks
so
for-
let's get this information to the other alternatives. Let's get it to Green Lantern so they know there are other alternatives that we're looking at. We're still trying to make it go, but it sure sounds like Byron's onto something.
I do know that a few months ago, a wonderful couple that walks up there every day, Dick and his wife, her name just gave me, with Dick Kilburn. Mike, you might know them from walking every day up there. But anyways, Dick had called me when he learned of this project, and he said, you just got to answer me one question. I'm not going to see power poles all through Northwood Park. And at the time, the plan was to do underground. And I said, no, I said, that's really a concern of ours. And that's why we're, talking about the underground. So, if one neighbor brought it up months ago, I'm sure it's on the minds of other people that, they'd prefer to see the natural beauty of the park remain what it is. So.
I think we can mandate that, can't we?
Well, it might already be mandated by Act 250. That's why I want to go take a look at the permit.
Yeah.
What was offered up in the contract?
I'm sorry, what, Byron?
What was offered in the contract as far as getting power from the field to the transformer?
I don't believe it was that detailed. And the contract was sort of like moving forward to explore, the design and options.
Okay.
Isn't that kind of what it was, JP?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Good discussion. Anything else from the Energy Committee?
That's all we have.
All right. Thanks, folks.
We have no energy left.
We're spent.
Running out of steam here. Update on project list. Mary, great job on the pocket park. We talked to Kevin Brown earlier about the railroad. We know where that's going. Granbury Waterline project, that's going to take place in August, correct? They're waiting on some material, so I'm just reading off the list here, folks, at Town Hall. War Memorial at Town Hall, we're nowhere with that. Town Hall Crosswalk, that's going to be completed with this project from the town to West Rutland. We have on here expanding Northwood Park trails, not necessarily a priority. Mike, you anywhere with that? You're on mute.
Well, just a reminder that we now have the easement.
Yes, there's lots kind of going on, with the school and their property. But as far as Northwood Park itself, I'm in the process of starting to make what Alex Stute and the Eagle Scout project did. We'll start labeling the trails with the signage that they created. So we're cleaning up. It's moving forward. And once we open up a little bit more, the volunteer groups that help will come in and really push it over to the top. But I'm hoping by the end of the summer, the fall, that we're starting to put some signs up for maps, for trails. Our disc golf is really taking off. I've been spending some time with that and another person who kind of been working opposite each other. getting that up and going. So that's looking really good. So yes, the Northwood Park Trail stuff is moving forward. So just so people know that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, let's go to new business. A and B have been handled. C, board to discuss reopening town hall to the public. Any discussion on, unlocking the doors and letting people in the building without an appointment?
2 weeks.
Okay, we'll put that on the agenda for 2 weeks. D, we're going to wait for Chris. E, we handled. F, we handled. G, we handled. For new business, any other new business come before the board tonight? Okay. Is there any old business to come before the board tonight?
Move to adjourn.
Under table business, the stormwater map. We talked about B, Northwood Park. C, board discuss cost of application for a person. That's not something we're talking about. Board discussion. Oh yeah. D, I'd like to talk about under table business. I would love to see us in 2 weeks start to meet in person. We could do it outside. We could do it at the fire station in the apparatus bay. We could do it in the highway garage. We could do it. I would just love to see us get back to. I mean, there's something special about meeting in person and getting away from this conference call and Zoom, and I would love to see, us decide to do this in person.
We can't meet space requirements in the current town office to have a public meeting.
Correct. That's why I listed all the other places. I don't think we should do it in here. There'd be too many people in one little room.
Well, do we do one more 2 weeks? We're holding on a lot of other things for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Sounds good.
Okay, we'll wait 2 more weeks. We'll continue to see each other on Zoom. Anything further to come before the board tonight?
I think Zoom makes you look more mature.
Zoom makes me look about 20 pounds heavier. Doesn't it,
Boy,
Byron?
am I glad I'm not on Zoom where I can see any of you.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Already
I'll
made.
second JP's motion from
Motion
earlier.
by John, second by Mary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good night, everyone. Thanks for